Hello, I'm Rachel Moss, and today I'd like to talk to you about the trend of sustainable seafood. Have you ever found yourself at the seafood counter in your local grocery store, staring at all of the options before you and wondering about the environmental impact that your choice will have? I have. And so today I'd like to talk to you about that popular trend, the purpose of that trend, and if shifting to sustainable seafood can help preserve our oceans and the fish that's contained therein. In the past few years, there's been a huge surge, kind of a green revolution for our foods. So we're thinking about how and where we source our foods. And the issue moving into the oceans and coming to light with the fish populations was only a matter of time to kind of come around and really take that information in and want to do something about it. So first we start with defining what sustainability is. The Monterey Bay Aquarium out of California launched a seafood watch program in 1999 that was in response to an exhibition that they did, which kind of focused on the damages that overfishing and other human activities have had on the ocean. The Seafood Watch aim and goal is to provide consumers with resources, specifically a pocket guide, which they've distributed over 40 million of these pocket guides now since 1999, that identify some of the best choices in seafood selections, choices that you are kind of a mid-road, a medium choice, and then also choices to avoid, which include fish that have seen their populations decrease incredibly in the past 2 decades, if not entirely extinct at this point in time. Certification for sustainability comes from the Marine Stewardship Council. They work with a lot of other conservation organizations as well, making sure that fisheries and corporations are adhering to certain standards to receive the certification. Most of these certifications then are labeled on the fish that you would purchase or also in the restaurants. So what is sustainability? What is sustainable seafood? Sustainable seafood is seafood that has been caught in a way that does not harm or causes little harm to the environment around it, and also has been caught in a manner that will help maintain and preserve a healthy fish population. Recognizing the need for sustainable seafood, and like I said, in the past 2 decades the issue has come to light. There's been many species that have seen a huge decrease in their populations. For instance, back in the 1980s, species such as tilefish and red snapper were huge menu staples. Red snapper used a lot in Cajun cuisine, tilefish in some nice restaurants. Those 2 options today are practically extinct and cannot be found on any restaurant menus. This need has basically arisen due to overfishing and, like I said, other environmental damages that humans have put onto the ecosystem. This effect on the seafood industry, like I said, is just less and less that's available to us, and the need for aquaculture to arise. Aquaculture is farmed fish, and sometimes this can be really good for the environment, sometimes this can be very detrimental as well. So sustainability should cover both wild-caught fisheries and aquaculture, but sustainability measures right now in aquaculture are still kind of being studied, and hopefully there will be some progress made with those in the next decade or so. Increasing the demand for sustainable seafood. The growing demand for seafood in this country and on the global market is huge. It's a healthy option for people, more affluent, and the more affluence that people gain in developing and underdeveloping countries equal us wanting to explore and eat more seafood as part of our regular diets. Consumer responsibility for this then would be to continue or to maintain buying and purchasing seafood that is deemed sustainable, so that these populations can rebound and be able to be continuous in the future for us. There's an even crazy prediction right now that still some scientists kind of argue about, but nonetheless definitely takes being looked at, is that by the year 2048 seafood can be entirely extinct for us, not an option. The populations and levels will be that low that we won't be able to fish wild-caught fish whatsoever. Moving on then to the future, like I said, we need to continue our support of sustainable seafood, also continuing to support corporations, businesses, and restaurants that are committed to sustainable seafood. Major corporations now like the Cisco Food Corporation, Walmart, Whole Foods, and a host of other grocers have jumped on board offering the most sustainable options they can. These are usually labeled and identified at the seafood counters and typically offer a lot of literature for you as well when it comes to selecting your seafood. Also, another thing that we can do is be an advocate for the certification policies. Letting our local governments know that this is an issue that's important to us, other conservationist groups as well, will help continue the trend of sustainable seafood. And as I mentioned earlier, the Monterey Bay Aquarium's Seafood Guide, we can continue to be educated consumers. Purchase a guide, or acquire a guide from them or from a host of other conservation groups to be an educated consumer and know what seafood is good for you and good for the environment as well. Sample listing of some of those choices for you. Some of the best seafood in America right now that's on the good list would be wild-caught Alaskan salmon, Pacific halibut, also a variety of farmed or aquaculture species as well, including striped bass, tilapia, cobia, and a lot of mollusks are really good in farms. Those include clams, oysters, mussels. Some of the fish that are on the avoid list would be the species I mentioned earlier, tilefish, red snapper, also Atlantic salmon. Farm salmon is actually not good for the environment due to the effects that the harvesting of the fish and the actual fish pens has on the coastal environments. So I guess in conclusion, what we talked about today was sustainable seafood and how this trend has gained popularity but also a lot of purpose. So by being an educated consumer, sticking with sustainable choices and making those the seafood that we consume, hopefully we'll be able to rebound these species in our oceans, the abundance of life in our oceans, and be able to enjoy seafood for years to come. Thanks so much.